Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like, because what I'm about to tell you today could completely change the way women see you, and it's not something most men will ever understand. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been around a woman, said something completely normal, and felt like she just tuned out? Or worse, you tried to be funny or charming, and suddenly the energy between you died? Here's the harsh truth. Most men are speaking all the wrong languages without even realizing it. Women aren't interested in what you say in the ordinary sense. They're listening for something far deeper, something almost primal that you've been unconsciously ignoring your whole life. You see, the words you choose, the tone you carry, the rhythm of your conversation, these aren't just small details. They are invisible codes. When you speak in a certain way, when your voice, your timing, your subtle pauses align perfectly with what she's craving. It triggers a psychological response so strong that she can't help but be drawn to you. This isn't manipulation. This is understanding the raw, unspoken dynamics of attraction. Psychology that most men will never even notice. And here's where most men fail. They overthink. They try too hard to impress. They mimic lines from movies or advice from forums that promise, say this, she'll like you. But what happens when it doesn't work? They blame themselves, their looks, their status, their voice. None of it matters if you don't understand the invisible architecture of attraction. Women react not to what you say, but to how you make them feel at a fundamental, instinctual level. Now, imagine walking into a room, saying just a few words, but they're the right words in the right way at the right moment, and watching her eyes light up, feeling her energy shift toward you without her even realizing why. That's not luck. That's mastering the subtle language that most men completely miss. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. If you stay until the end of this video, you won't just understand these secrets, you'll be able to use them immediately. But remember, this isn't for every man. This is for the men willing to step beyond the ordinary, who are tired of being invisible and who are ready to command attention the moment they speak. Listen carefully, because this is where most men completely lose their power without even realizing it. The first secret to making women obsess over you isn't charm, it isn't confidence, and it sure as hell isn't spouting compliments she's heard 1,000 times before. It's your presence in every word you speak, every sentence, every pause, every inflection communicates a level of control, awareness, and depth that she can feel in her body before her brain even registers it. Here's what I mean. Most men talk to fill silence. They ramble, over-explain, apologize for taking up space, or try to impress with facts or achievements. Women hear this and nothing happens. It's like background noise. But the moment you speak with intention, with weight behind each word, with a rhythm that's calm but magnetic, something shifts in her subconscious. She starts leaning in, waiting to catch every syllable, craving more. That is the power of controlled speech, and it's something few men ever master. You have to understand that women respond to emotion first, logic second. Your words are not just words, they are emotional triggers. The way you structure a sentence, the subtle confidence in your tone, the timing of your pauses, all of it sends signals about your value, your mindset, and your emotional strength. Think of it like a magnetic field. You're either pushing her away with desperation or pulling her in with invisible force. Most men never even notice which energy they're projecting. Here's a simple truth. Silence can be more powerful than speech. A well-placed pause can make her heart skip, make her imagine what you're thinking, make her want to be inside your mind. Yet, most men are terrified of silence. They fill it with noise, awkward jokes, or meaningless commentary. When you learn to harness this pause, to let your words breathe, to allow your presence to speak louder than sentences, you create an addictive tension. She doesn't just like you, she wants to know you, to decode you, to chase you mentally without even realizing it. And it goes deeper than just attraction. This way of speaking builds subconscious respect, intrigue, and emotional dependence. She starts associating you with a feeling she can't put a name to, something she craves because it feels rare, powerful, and dangerously magnetic. You're no longer just a man talking. You're a psychological force she can't ignore. Most men will never achieve this. Most men will never even understand it. But if you take these principles seriously, if you truly internalize them, you'll notice women responding to you in ways that feel unnatural, intense, almost hypnotic. That's the moment you realize that speaking like this is not just conversation, it's influence. Now let's get into the part that separates ordinary men from the ones women can't stop thinking about. The words themselves matter, but only if they're delivered in the right way with the right subtext. Most men speak to inform or to impress, but what makes women obsess isn't information. It's emotion layered with subtle control. It's the difference between saying something and making her feel it deep inside her subconscious. Here's a harsh truth. Generic compliments, cheesy lines, or overt flattery are invisible to her mind. She's heard them all before. What she reacts to are statements that imply value without needing approval, phrases that subtly challenge her perception of you, that spark curiosity and desire. You're planting mental seeds that make her think, who is this man? What's he thinking? Why does he make me feel like this? And the most dangerous part, she doesn't even know she's falling into this pattern. Think about the structure of your speech like a rhythm, almost musical, short, confident statements, a pause that lets her process, then a hint of unpredictability. Drop subtle observations that show insight into her world without over-explaining, without trying to be understood fully. When you speak this way, she starts leaning into your energy. She begins to anticipate what you'll say next, to remember your words, replay them in her mind, analyze them, crave them. That is psychological obsession. Here's an example of the underlying principle. Instead of saying, "You're really beautiful," which is obvious and meaningless, you might say something like, "You have a way of looking at things that makes the world feel different. Notice the difference. It's a statement of perception, not judgment. It communicates awareness, depth, and attention, but it doesn't ask for her validation. It pulls her curiosity. It makes her want to reveal herself to you because she senses there's a unique level of perception inside your mind." Another technique is what I call emotional contrast. Mix warmth with controlled detachment. Show interest without clinging. Speak in a way that makes her feel understood, yet leaves a layer of mystery. That tension, that push-pull triggers dopamine and intrigue. She will start replaying your conversations, analyzing your tone, your timing, even the way you breathe when you speak. You've just activated a psychological loop that hooks her attention without her consciously realizing it. Most men miss this because they confuse talking with talking. Effectively, they think volume, charisma, or humor alone will work, but obsession comes from subtlety, from layered emotion, from making her feel something rare, magnetic, irresistible. All through words master this, and ordinary conversations transform into a magnetic experience she can't escape. Now let's talk about something most men completely overlook: how you say things. It's not just the words, it's your voice, your timing, your rhythm. The pauses between syllables that make her subconscious notice you before her conscious mind even processes a single thought. Most men speak in monotone, rush their sentences, or laugh nervously at their own words. That destroys attraction instantly. But when you master subtle vocal control, every word becomes magnetic, and she can't help but lean in, listen, and imagine you in her mind long after the conversation ends. The first key is pace. Speak slower than feels natural. Give your words room to breathe when you pause, especially before or after a meaningful statement. You're giving her brain a moment to process, and her emotions have a chance to catch up. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you have. Women fill it subconsciously, imagining what you're thinking, feeling, or planning. That tension creates curiosity, desire, even mild obsession. It's the space between your words, not just the words themselves, that makes her feel pulled toward you. Tone is next. Drop a slight depth into your voice, the kind that carries calm authority and subtle intrigue. Avoid high-pitched enthusiasm or nervous energy. It signals insecurity, neediness, and predictability. Instead, let your tone suggest confidence without arrogance, calmness without detachment. Your voice becomes a signal of stability, of masculine energy she craves instinctively. When combined with intentional pauses and rhythmic pacing, this transforms simple sentences into emotional triggers. The final trick is emotional layering. Your words should carry multiple levels of meaning. The surface meaning she consciously hears, a subtle emotional subtext that makes her feel a certain way, and an invisible signal of value and presence. For example, a comment about her perspective or behavior delivered with calm intrigue tells her you notice, you understand, but you are not dependent on her validation. That combination, insight, control, subtle mystery, creates an irresistible magnetic pull. Most men never get this right because they don't realize speaking is not just communication, it's influence, attraction, and emotional resonance rolled into one. They think the louder, faster, or funnier they are, the more they will impress. But women aren't impressed. They're wired to react to emotional signals, to subconscious cues that show strength, presence, and depth. When you master this, every conversation, every word, every pause becomes a psychological hook. She doesn't just enjoy talking to you, she remembers it, thinks about it, craves the next time. If you apply these patterns consistently, you stop being just another guy in the room. You become a man whose presence lingers in her mind, whose voice ignites emotion, whose words echo long after you've left. That is how ordinary men become unforgettable, magnetic, and deeply desired. Here's where most men fail and why even the right words and voice patterns don't always work. Your mindset. Attraction isn't just what you say or how you sound, it's who you are while you say it. Women sense authenticity on a subconscious level. If you're trying too hard, overthinking, or desperate for approval, no tone, rhythm, or clever line can save you. To speak in a way that makes women obsess, you first have to internalize a mindset of magnetic calm and unshakable self-possession. Imagine for a moment that every word you speak carries weight, not because you're trying to impress, but because you own your value. You are fully aware of who you are, what you want, and what you will accept. This isn't arrogance, it's quiet confidence. When you speak from that place, your words automatically project authority, curiosity, and intrigue. Women pick up on this instantly. It's why some men can say almost nothing, yet completely captivate a room, while others talk endlessly and leave no impact. The mental trick is to detach from external validation. You are not talking to get her attention. You are talking because you are fully engaged in the moment, fully yourself. This subtle shift changes everything. Your sentences flow naturally. Your pauses feel intentional. Your tone resonates with depth. You stop explaining or defending yourself. You stop trying to be liked. And paradoxically, this is exactly what makes her want you more. She senses that you are a prize she might never fully understand, and the mind starts chasing what feels just out of reach. Another key mindset shift is embracing subtle unpredictability. Most men are painfully consistent. They say the same things, follow the same patterns, respond exactly as expected. Women crave mental stimulation. When your words carry an element of curiosity, mild challenge, or unexpected insight, it keeps her engaged, replaying your interactions, imagining your thoughts, and wondering about your next move. The combination of confidence, presence, and unpredictability triggers psychological loops that pull her attention like gravity. Finally, you need to value silence as much as speech. A quiet, self-possessed man doesn't need to fill every moment. He listens, observes, and responds with precision. Every word earns attention. Every pause creates anticipation. And when you integrate these mindset shifts with your vocal patterns, phrasing, and emotional layering, you stop being a man who talks. You become a force she cannot stop thinking about, a psychological anchor in her mind that she unconsciously measures every woman against. Here's the final truth that most men will never hear. To make women obsess over you, your impact must be irresistible and unforgettable, not just momentary. It's one thing to say the right words or pause correctly. It's another to leave a lasting imprint on her mind and emotions. The goal isn't to manipulate, it's to become a man whose presence, energy, and speech create a gravitational pull she can't consciously resist. Once she experiences it, she thinks about you long after you're gone, and that's when obsession begins. The first key is emotional residue. Every interaction should leave her feeling something powerful: curiosity, intrigue, warmth, or desire. Not all at once, but layered subtly. She should feel like she glimpsed a side of you that most men never reveal: the calm, confident, unpredictable man who sees the world differently and makes her feel alive by simply being present. This residue is what triggers the mind to replay conversations, analyze your behavior, and imagine your presence when you're not there. That is the invisible hook you create when you speak like this. Next is consistency. You can't just deliver this intensity occasionally. Women pick up on patterns. If one day you're magnetic, the next day timid or overbearing, the spell breaks. True obsession requires a steady rhythm of presence, mystery, and emotional depth. This doesn't mean being predictable. It means being reliably confident, self-possessed, and intentionally engaging. She begins to expect your energy in a way that excites her subconscious mind, reinforcing the emotional connection every time you interact. Finally, leave space for imagination. Don't over-explain your thoughts or feelings. Don't reveal everything at once. Women are drawn to what is partially unknown, what needs to be discovered. When you speak with purpose, but leave subtle gaps, her mind fills them in with curiosity and desire. She starts thinking about you when you're not there, creating mental loops that pull her toward you. That's the ultimate psychological leverage you're never chasing, but she's always drawn in. Combine all of this phrasing, voice control, emotional layering, mindset, and mental tension, and you become more than just a man who talks. You become a rare experience, a living magnet she cannot ignore. Ordinary men vanish from memory. You remain. She obsesses because your words, presence, and energy have carved a permanent place in her subconscious. That is the power of speaking in a way that triggers attraction at the deepest level. Magnetic, irresistible, unforgettable. Master this, and women don't just like you. They remember you, think about you, and unconsciously crave the next interaction. You stop being one of many and you become the exception.